Commander Vex'tora of the Galactic Hegemony stared at the tactical display with all four of his amber eyes and mandibles clicking in what his subordinates recognized as profound irritation. The mission had been simple: capture the human outpost on Proxima B, secure their quantum communication array, and return home for a hero's welcome. Standard procedure, textbook even. So why, by the 7 moons of Kaldar, was there now a human flag waving over his forward base? Status report. Now. Vex'tora's voice rasped through the communication system, causing several junior officers to flinch. And somebody explain how we lost contact with an entire battalion. Lieutenant Naz Ka approached the command table, her exoskeleton clicking nervously against the metallic floor. Commander, preliminary reports suggest that our forward base has been compromised. Compromised? Vex'tora's upper eyes narrowed while his lower pair widened in disbelief. By the humans? That's absurd. They had a skeleton crew manning that outpost. 20 soldiers, maximum. We sent 300 elite troops. Yes, sir. That appears to be the situation. That's not a situation, Lieutenant. That's an impossibility. The tactical display updated as fresh intelligence arrived, but Naz Ka pointed at several blinking indicators. Our reconnaissance drones confirm human presence at our base. They've redirected our defensive systems against us, and sir, they appear to be using our own communication array to broadcast something. Put it on screen, Vex'tora growled. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the face of a human. Female, by their dimorphic standards. Young, even for their pathetically short lifespans. Her skin was brown, her hair pulled back in what humans called a ponytail, and her expression, was she smiling? Attention, hegemony forces, the human said, voice infuriatingly calm. This is Cadet Mira Patel of the Earth Defense Force. Your forward base is under new management. I'd like to negotiate terms for the safe return of your surviving personnel. Vex'tora's exoskeleton nearly cracked with tension. Cadet? Did she say cadet? Yes, Commander, Naz Ka confirmed, antennae drooping with embarrassment. But you mean to tell me that a human cadet has captured our forward base and taken our troops prisoner? The human continued speaking. I'll need a response within 1 standard hour, or I'll be forced to consider alternative arrangements for your people. Nothing drastic, but I hear the winters on this moon get pretty chilly. Your troops might not appreciate camping outside. The transmission ended, replaced by the human flag and what appeared to be yes, that was definitely human music playing in the background. Something about being born in the USA, whatever that meant. Vex'tora slammed all 4 of his fists onto the command table. How? How? Explain this to me. General Draz, the most experienced officer on the flagship, stepped forward. Commander, permission to speak freely? Granted, Vex'tora hissed through clenched mandibles. You've never fought humans before, have you? Vex'tora turned all 4 eyes toward the general. No. The hegemony's conflicts with humans have been limited. That's why this mission was considered low risk. General Draz made a sound that translated roughly as a sigh, and that explains it. The High Command has made a critical error in their assessment. Humans are problematic. Problematic? They're primitive. Their technology is centuries behind ours. Their bodies are fragile. They don't even have proper exoskeletons. And yet, General Draz gestured to the tactical display. A single human cadet has captured our forward base. There must be more of them, Vex'tora insisted. A hidden force. Stealth technology we didn't detect. Perhaps, Draz conceded, though his tone suggested otherwise. However, I've studied the reports from the Arcturus campaign. Humans are known for their unconventional approaches. Lieutenant Naz Ka cleared her throat. Sir, we've restored partial surveillance from inside the base. You might want to see this. The view screen changed to show interior footage. The human cadet Mira Patel was sitting in the commander's chair, feet propped up on the console, speaking to a group of bound hegemony soldiers. So anyway, she was saying, casually tossing what appeared to be a thermal detonator from hand to hand. I told my instructor that the simulation was unrealistic. I mean, who designs a security system with the ventilation shafts leading directly to the main reactor? That's just asking for trouble. The hegemony soldiers looked at each other nervously. Wait, Mira paused, eyes widening in mock surprise. Don't tell me you guys actually design your bases that way. Oh man, that's priceless. No wonder this was so easy. Vex'tora felt his blood pressure rising to dangerous levels. Turn it off. But Commander, I said turn it off. The screen went blank. General Draz spoke cautiously. Commander, we should consider our response carefully. This human cadet has displayed. I don't care what she's displayed. I want that base retaken. Immediately. Prepare the secondary battalion for assault, sir. Nazca interjected. Perhaps we should assess the situation more thoroughly before. The situation is that a human child has taken our base. There is nothing to assess. We will crush her and restore the honor of the hegemony. General Draz shook his head slightly. Commander, if I may suggest an alternative approach. The human has offered negotiations. Perhaps we should. Negotiate? With a cadet? The very suggestion is an insult to our species. With respect, sir, Draz persisted, underestimating humans has proven costly in the past. The incident at Tau Ceti. Enough. I've made my decision. Lieutenant Nazca, prepare a response to this cadet. Inform her that if she does not surrender immediately, we will reduce the base to atoms. Yes, Commander, Nazca replied, though her antennae twitched with clear disapproval. As Nazca moved to execute his orders, Vex'tora turned to General Draz. You seem to have some misguided respect for these humans, General. Explain yourself. Draz stood at attention. It's not respect, Commander. It's caution. Humans are paradoxical creatures. Technologically inferior, yes. Physically weaker, certainly. But they possess adaptability, creativity, sometimes even recklessness that somehow works in their favor. You make them sound like some mystical force. They're just another species to be conquered. A species that has survived conflicts with the Drakari Horde, the Epsilon Collective, and even the Mithril Dominion. Each time they were outmatched. Each time they prevailed. Vex'tora waved a dismissive hand. Exaggerated war stories. Documented history, Draz countered. The Mithril thought humans would be simple to subjugate. They lost an entire fleet. Before Vex'tora could respond, Nazca returned. Commander, I've transmitted your message to the human. Excellent. And? She laughed, sir. Vex'tora's mandibles clicked in confusion. Laughed. Yes, sir. Then she sent this response. The view screen activated again, showing Cadet Patel. This time she wasn't smiling. Her expression was calm, focused. Commander Vex'tora, I presume. Thank you for your prompt response. However, threats won't be necessary. I've taken the liberty of accessing your base's systems. Fascinating architecture. These, by the way. Very efficient. Especially the part where all critical functions can be controlled from a single terminal with surprisingly minimal security protocols. She leaned forward. Here's my counteroffer. I've already transmitted the schematics of your new phase shift cruiser to Earth Defense Command. Yes, I found those too. They say thank you, by the way. Vex'tora felt his heart stop momentarily. But don't worry, Mira continued. Your troops are safe. I've even turned up the heat for them. Your species prefers it warm, right? About 40 degrees Celsius? I've made sure the barracks are nice and toasty. How does she know our thermal preferences? Nazca whispered. Now, we can do this the easy way or the hard way, Mira explained. Easy way, you withdraw your forces from this system, and in return, I give you back your base and your people. Hard way. Well, I've found some interesting buttons in your weapons control system. I'm not entirely sure what they do, but I'm very curious to find out. She leaned back in the chair. Oh, and you might want to check on your secondary battalion. They seem to be having some trouble with their transport ships. Something about engine failures. Weird coincidence, huh? The transmission ended. Nazca's voice was strained. Commander, incoming report. All transports for the secondary battalion are experiencing system-wide failures. Engineering can't explain it. Vex'tora stood in stunned silence. General Draz spoke quietly. Still think we're dealing with just a cadet, Commander? This is impossible, Vex'tora muttered. No single human could accomplish this. Maybe that's why humans are so dangerous, Draz replied. They do the impossible with alarming regularity. The tactical display updated again, showing multiple alert indicators around their position. Sir, Nazca called out. We're detecting approaching vessels. Earth Defense Force signatures. Vex'tora snapped back to attention. How many? 3 cruisers, sir. Heavy class. Time to intercept? 20 minutes, sir? Vex'tora's mind raced. They must have already been in the system. The cadet was just stalling for time. Perhaps, Draz said. Or perhaps she called them after taking the base. The implications sank in. A single human cadet had neutralized their forward base, disabled their secondary battalion, and potentially summoned reinforcements, all within hours. Opinions? Vex'tora asked, mandibles tight. We're outmatched, sir, Nazca said quietly. Between the compromised base, the disabled transports, and the incoming human cruisers. We should withdraw, Draz stated firmly. Live to fight another day. Learn from this educational experience. Vex'tora wanted to rage, to demand they stand and fight. But 3 centuries of military service had taught him to recognize a lost cause. Lieutenant, open a channel to the human cadet. Yes, Commander. Moments later, Mira Patel's face appeared once more. Well, hello again, she said cheerfully. Have you had a chance to consider my offer? Vex'tora spoke through clenched mandibles. We accept your terms. The hegemony forces will withdraw from this system. Excellent choice. I'll begin preparations to transfer control of your base back to your people once your fleet has moved beyond the system's outer marker. It's been a pleasure doing business with you, Commander. As the transmission ended, Vex'tora turned to General Draz. When we return to hegemony space, I want everything we have on humans. Every battle report, every analysis, every scrap of intelligence. Planning your revenge, Commander? Draz asked. No, General, Vex'tora replied grimly. Planning our survival. As the hegemony flagship prepared for departure, surveillance cameras showed Cadet Mira Patel relaxing in the command chair, sipping from a container of what humans called coffee, and humming contentedly to herself. In the corner of the screen, a message flashed on her personal communication device, simulation complete. Unconventional tactics test, passed. Cadet Mira Patel stared at the message blinking on her device, a grin spreading across her face. She took another sip of coffee, allowing herself a moment of satisfaction before the tactical training room would transform back to its bland, gray reality. End simulation, announced a monotone voice from overhead speakers. The alien command center dissolved around her, complex holographic projections fading to reveal a spherical chamber lined with projection panels. Mira stood up from what was now just a standard-issue training chair rather than the imposing alien commander's seat she'd been lounging in moments before. Captain Javier Garcia entered the simulation chamber, datapad in hand, his expression unreadable beneath his bushy salt and pepper mustache. Well, Cadet Patel, he said, looking down at his datapad. That was unorthodox. Mira stood at attention. Thank you, sir. That wasn't a compliment. It wasn't a criticism either, sir. Garcia's right eyebrow arched upward, but the slight twitch at the corner of his mouth betrayed his amusement. The purpose of this exercise was to test your response to a no-win scenario. You were supposed to surrender. With respect, Captain, I don't believe in no-win scenarios. So I gathered when you hacked the simulation parameters and gave your self-administrator access to the enemy systems. Mira shifted uncomfortably. Sir, Save it, Patel. The question isn't whether you broke the rules. The question is how you broke them so thoroughly that even the simulation engineers are scratching their heads. He glanced down at his datapad again. According to this, you identified a zero-day exploit in the simulated hegemony systems that shouldn't have existed because, well, we didn't program it to exist. The simulation is built on a modified version of actual hegemony code captured during the Proxima Centauri skirmish, Sir, Mira explained. The exploit exists in their actual systems. I just found it. Captain Garcia stared at her. You just found it. During a 40-minute simulation. An exploit that our cybersecurity division has been trying to locate for 6 months. Mira fought to keep her expression neutral. Sometimes a fresh perspective helps, sir. A fresh perspective, Garcia repeated flatly. Cadet, our top analysts have been working on this problem since before you even applied to the academy. Yes, sir. But they've been looking at it as computer scientists. I looked at it as well, as me. Garcia sighed deeply. Elaborate, Cadet. Sir, the hegemony thinks in hierarchies. It's ingrained in their biology hive-based evolution. Their computer systems reflect this. Rigid, structured, orderly. But they've been adapting human networking protocols to enhance efficiency. And humans don't think in hierarchies, sir. We think in messes. Beautiful, chaotic messes. The hegemony tried to implement our networking architecture without understanding our psychology. They created hybrid systems with conflicting security philosophies. Mira warmed to her subject, gesturing enthusiastically. It's like they built a fortress with both an impenetrable front gate and a back door with a welcome mat. I just had to think like a human to find the contradiction in their system. Captain Garcia was silent for a long moment. Sir, Mira prompted nervously. Admiral Okonkwo wants to see you, he said finally. Mira felt her heart drop. The Admiral? But. Immediately, Cadet. Yes, sir, Mira replied, trying to keep her voice steady. Being summoned by the Admiral of Earth Defense Force Academy was rarely good news. Especially not after breaking simulation protocols. As they walked through the corridors of the Academy's tactical division, Mira's mind raced through potential consequences. Disciplinary action? Academic probation? Expulsion? Captain, she ventured, may I ask what the Admiral? No, you may not, Garcia cut her off. Though I suggest you prepare to explain why you thought converting the simulated hegemony translation system into what was essentially a confetti cannon was necessary tactical strategy. It was psychological warfare, sir. It was showing off, Cadet. That too, sir. Garcia gave her a sideways glance that almost contained a smile. They arrived at the Admiral's office, a surprisingly modest space for someone who commanded humanity's premier military training facility. Admiral Tabitha Okonkwo sat behind a desk made of actual wood, a rarity in this age of composite materials. Her dark skin contrasted with short silver hair, and her eyes were fixed on a holographic display hovering above her desk. Cadet Patel reporting as ordered, Admiral, Garcia announced. Admiral Okonkwo looked up, her expression severe. Thank you, Captain. You're dismissed. Garcia nodded, gave Mira a look that might have been sympathetic, and departed, leaving her alone with the Admiral. Sit down, Cadet, Okonkwo said, gesturing to a chair. Mira sat, back straight, hands resting on her knees. Do you know why you're here? The Admiral asked. I assume it's because I violated simulation protocols, Ma-am. That's part of it, Okonkwo acknowledged. Though if we expelled every cadet who tried to beat the system, we'd have no graduates. Mira blinked in surprise. What makes your case interesting, Cadet Patel, is that you didn't just try to beat the system. You broke it open and found something we didn't know was there. The Admiral tapped a command, and a complex code structure appeared in the air between them. This is the exploit you discovered. Our cybersecurity division confirms it exists in actual hegemony systems. You've potentially given us a significant tactical advantage in an ongoing conflict. Thank you, Ma'am. That wasn't a compliment to Cadet. It was a statement of fact. Yes, Ma'am. Admiral Okonkwo leaned forward. Here's my dilemma, Patel. On one hand, you've displayed extraordinary aptitude. On the other, you've shown a disturbing disregard for protocols and chain of command. With respect, Admiral, I'm not finished, Cadet. The Admiral's voice was sharp. The Earth Defense Force needs innovation. We need people who think differently. But we also need discipline. Without it, we're just a collection of clever individuals, not a fighting force. Mira nodded, choosing to remain silent. The hegemony is advancing toward the Sol system, Okonkwo continued. Intelligence suggests they'll reach our outer defensive perimeter within 2 months. We're outnumbered, outgunned, and facing an enemy with technological superiority in most areas. The Admiral stood and walked to a window overlooking the Academy grounds. What we need, Cadet Patel, is an edge, something they don't expect. Like an exploit in their communication systems? Mira suggested. Like a human who thinks differently enough to find weaknesses no one else can see, Okonkwo corrected, turning back to face her. But that human needs to operate within a command structure. I understand, Admiral. Do you? Your simulation performance suggests otherwise. Mira took a deep breath. Admiral, I believe in the chain of command. I respect authority and experience. But I also believe that when facing an existential threat, adhering to expected responses is a luxury we can't afford. Go on. The hegemony expects us to behave according to traditional military doctrine. They study our tactics, our responses, our protocols. If we become predictable, we become vulnerable. And you think unpredictability is our salvation? I think it's one of our weapons, Ma'am, maybe our most powerful one. Admiral Okonkwo returned to her desk and sat down. Interesting theory, Cadet. Care to test it? Ma'am. The Sentinel, our forward observation post at the edge of the Sol system. The hegemony will encounter it first when they arrive. According to all tactical projections, it's indefensible. We're planning to abandon it before they arrive. That seems prudent, Mira said cautiously. Perhaps. But what if we didn't? The Admiral's eyes fixed on Mira with uncomfortable intensity. What if, instead of retreating, we placed a small team there? A team tasked with disrupting the hegemony advance using unconventional methods. Mira felt her pulse quicken. You're suggesting a suicide mission, Admiral. I'm suggesting a mission with extremely low survival probability, Okonkwo corrected. But not zero. Especially not if that team included someone who has demonstrated an exceptional ability to turn no-win scenarios into victories. Me? Mira's voice came out embarrassingly high-pitched. Admiral, I'm a third-year cadet. I haven't even completed my tactical training. Which makes you perfect for this assignment. The hegemony expects trained soldiers following established protocols. They don't expect you. Mira stared at the Admiral, momentarily speechless. This isn't an order, Cadet, Okonkwo clarified. It's a request. One you're free to decline without prejudice to your academic standing or future career. Who else would be on this team? 5 volunteers, all specialists in their fields: combat, engineering, medical, communications, and tactical analysis. And me, Mira said. What would be my role? Chaos agent, the Admiral replied with the faintest hint of a smile. Mira laughed despite herself. That's not an official military designation, Ma'am. Perhaps it should be. Okonkwo's expression grew serious again. You have 24 hours to decide, Cadet. Dismissed. 23 hours and 58 minutes later, Mira stood in the Academy's deployment bay, duffel bag at her feet, watching as equipment was loaded onto the transport vessel that would take her team to the Sentinel. Having second thoughts, asked a deep voice behind her. Mira turned to see a tall, broad-shouldered man with dark skin and a shaved head. The insignia on his uniform identified him as a major in special operations. Major Afolayan, she greeted, recognizing him from the mission briefing files. Combat specialist. Among other things, he agreed with a nod. "You didn't answer my question, Cadet." "No second thoughts," Mira replied. "Just calculating probabilities." And wondering why a decorated special ops major would volunteer for a mission with a survival probability in the single digits. Afolayan smiled, revealing a small gap between his front teeth. "Same reason as you, I expect. Someone has to do the impossible things." "Is that what we're doing? Impossible things?" "According to conventional military wisdom, yes." He gestured toward the transport. "But I've reviewed your simulation performance, Patel. Conventional doesn't appear to be your style." "I take that as a compliment, Major." "It was intended as one." He picked up her duffel bag. "The others are already aboard, ready to go make history? Or possibly become a cautionary tale in future tactical classes?" "Both options sound memorable," Mira said, falling into step beside him. "But I'm aiming for the history option." As they boarded the transport, Mira was introduced to the rest of the team. Dr. Layla Hassan, medical specialist with combat experience from the Mars Rebellion; Lieutenant Raj Kumar, communications expert who had once maintained contact with Earth during a 3-week hegemony jamming attack; Commander Elena Volkov, tactical analyst and former chess prodigy; and Chief Engineer Thomas Rivera, whose modifications to standard EDF equipment had saved countless lives during the Battle of Europa. "Welcome to Operation Last Stand," Major Afolayan announced as they strapped in for departure. Or, as I prefer to call it, Operation Who the Hell Authorized This Madness? "That would be Admiral Okonkwo," Commander Volkov noted dryly. "And technically, we volunteered," Dr. Hassan added, checking her medical kit. "Some of us more enthusiastically than others," Lieutenant Kumar muttered, glancing at Mira. Mira felt all eyes turn to her. "What? Because I'm a cadet? Or because this whole mission was partially inspired by my simulation stunt?" "Both," Rivera said with a grin. "No pressure, but if we all die horribly, it's kind of your fault." "Thanks for the pep talk, Chief." "All right, enough chatter," Afolayan cut in. "We have a 10-day journey to the Sentinel. During that time, we'll run through every scenario, every contingency, every possible way this mission could go wrong. And then figure out how to make it go right," Mira added. Afolayan nodded. "Exactly. The hegemony thinks they know us. They think humans are predictable. Our job is to prove them catastrophically wrong." The transport's engines rumbled to life, and Mira felt the familiar pressure of acceleration pressing her into her seat. As the vessel broke orbit and set course for the outer edge of the Sol system, she couldn't help but smile. The hegemony was coming with their superior technology, their overwhelming numbers, their rigid tactics. They expected humanity to follow the established rules of engagement. They weren't expecting Cadet Mira Patel. They weren't expecting her team of brilliant misfits. And they certainly weren't expecting what was about to happen when a human cadet was told to surrender. Because surrender wasn't in her vocabulary. And capturing the enemy base? Well, that was just the beginning.